r/ask Reddit. What is unlikely to happen, yet frighteningly plausible? Someone pushing you onto the subway rails. Those things terrify me. Do you know how easy it would be? Terrifies me every time. Someone could just walk past and push. They don't even need to intentionally do it either. Someone could stumble and accidentally push you off. I have no idea how people stand so close to the edge when the tracks are not level with the floor. I stay far away from those. A car coming in the opposite direction blows a tire, causing it to careen across the roadway and crashes head on into you. I always wonder at just how dangerous a 2-lane highway really is. You have several multi-ton machines traveling at 60+ mph driving towards each other with only a painted stripe separating their designated lane of travel. It really takes a team effort of not ducking up and keeping in the lines that keeps us safe. This is similar to the first thing my driving instructor told me many years ago. I hate him. I witnessed the aftermath of this happening on the interstate, though I heard later that the driver instead had fallen asleep at the wheel. 5 people died that day. The wreckage alone was horrific to see. In 2015, 35,092 people died on US highways. An Airbus A320 carries around 150 passengers. Car crashes kill the same amount of people as it would if 233 Airbuses crashed a year. Can you imagine if that were the case? No one would fly, ever. Yet here we are, still dilly-dallying on our phones and jacking around while driving. Any sudden death things, brain aneurysm, heart attack, strokes, blood clot, etc. Alligator attacks, crocodile attacks. It can happen anytime. That's why it's so terrifying. They're like the perfect killing machine. Mutually assured nuclear annihilation triggered by a misunderstanding. One of my favorite things is finding out about all the times this almost happened, but was prevented by someone basically saying, nah, just ignore that order, I don't wanna die. You could end up accused of something and go to jail despite innocence. There are always a handful of serial killers active at any time in the US, but in a country of 300 million plus people, chances are low you'll be a victim. Still though, at any time some crazy dude could break into your home, duct tape you to a chair, and make a skin suit out of you. Wasn't there a serial killer who picked his kills based entirely on whether a family left their doors locked unlocked at night? Richard Chase, the vampire of Sacramento. Whenever I am driving over a tall bridge over water, I am always scared that I will black out or have a major arm jerk which will make the car fly off the road. Reading this thread was a huge mistake, especially at night trying to get some sleep. That I lose my job. I'm always paranoid that I'm in danger of losing it despite all my superiors saying I'm doing a good job. Afraid it's just gonna happen anyway and me and my wife are screwed. Serious imposter syndrome going on here. Dying from regular appliances. People are killed by refrigerators more than they are killed by sharks each year. To be fair, you really shouldn't be swimming with a refrigerator. To be fair, you shouldn't just keep a shark in your kitchen. Those statistics are heavily skewed. Most everyone has a fridge. Very few are in the vicinity of a shark. The Yellowstone caldera erupts and ends life as we know it. The one upside to this is that you can die knowing that nothing cool had been invented, created, discovered by humans after you die that you missed out on. Like the winds of winter, for example. I'm not sure how plausible it is, but I've always been afraid of the ceiling fan falling and killing me in my sleep. Hey, that happened to me. Well, kinda. I didn't die but I got 7 stitches on my head. Yay, what the duck bro. I am sleeping in the corner tonight. Thanks. That's the spider's corner. There's this concept called quantum suicide. It basically asks, what does the Schrodinger's cat experiment look like from the perspective of the cat? According to the Everett interpretation of quantum mechanics, when a quantum measurement is made, the universe forks. In each timeline one of the possible measurements is observed, and the probability of entering that timeline is determined by quantum mechanics. It is a reasonably well accepted interpretation, and the only one that is self-consistent, since the alternative, the Copenhagen interpretation, does not define what measurement is. In other words, it is likely true but not certain. So back to Schrodinger's cat, the particle is measured, and each time, The universe forks. In one fork, the cat lives. In another, it dies. But what does the cat see? The cat sees itself as always surviving. Every time. Click, click, click. The gun doesn't go off. Why? Because being dead is an experience the cat cannot have. It's dead. After all, the only experience the cat can experience is that of having an experience. That is, living. It's like the anthropic principle. There is a selection bias on the conditions we observe ourselves to be in, because we can only exist in certain conditions. So after 10 or so rounds of this experiment, from the outside world, the cat is almost certainly dead. What's the probability of the particle coming up heads 10 times in a row? 1 stroke 2. 10. Which is around 1 in 1000. But from the cat's perspective, it is certainly alive. My fear is that I'm the cat. Or worse, the human species is the cat, and actually we've put ourselves through nuclear apocalypse in 99.999999% of timelines. But here we are derping along in the one universe that escaped because some electron went left instead of right inside of Stanislav Petrov's brain. Maybe we put ourselves through nuclear apocalypse on the regular. Like on average next Tuesday we're probably going to blow up, and with 99.999% probability we do. But one little sliver of reality escapes and gets to derp along a little longer until next Thursday, and that's where the versions of ourselves that didn't die horribly happen to find themselves before dying horribly next week. I find this oddly comforting in that I've survived so many Tuesdays already. I might as well keep trying until it's the end of my universe's line. What ducks me up is, if this theory is true, then is it possible to ever die? Of course people around us will die, but will we personally and individually ever stop experiencing? I find this theory so intriguing and I always have. Some sort of quantum immortality is much more plausible than a heaven or hell. It's frightening how plausible it is for anyone to grab a kitchen knife, walk outside and stab a complete stranger to death for no apparent reason. Unlikely to happen, but it's weird to think about. When I was a kid, 1950s, I was a Boy Scout. One night, we had a troop meeting at my house. The meeting was interrupted when someone noticed red and blue lights flashing outside. We went onto my porch and saw police cars and an ambulance in front of a house on my block. The father of one of the kids at the meeting had just picked up a kitchen knife and murdered his wife. Postscript. The wife had been having an affair with another man and taunted her husband mercilessly with it. The husband offered to forgive her, but when he went to touch her, she recoiled and hurled another insult at him. That's when he picked up the knife and stabbed her several times. The jury in his trial, he turned himself into police within minutes of killing her, determined that it was a crime of passion and that he didn't constitute a threat to society. He was found guilty, but got a light sentence. He was out on parole a few years later and reunited with his son. Going to the bathroom at night and find a snake in the toilet. Black widows can live for several days underwater. Spider bite your ass. Black widow bites are typically lethal in adults. Also we have antivenom for them. Somehow, my rectum doesn't feel better. Kesler Syndrome. Space debris hits and destroys a satellite, and the resulting debris sets off a chain of events in which more satellites in orbit are destroyed, which creates more debris that destroys more satellites, creating a ring of debris around Earth that would make space travel and satellite communications much more difficult. Basically what happened in the film Gravity. I'm sure we would come up with some way to clean all that shit up. I'm sure some of our ingenious redditors will come up with a solution right now. Space is a vacuum. Just vacuum up the debris. Solved. Stroke. The fear that I can be chilling and all of a sudden out of nowhere my body attacks me, and that from that point onward if I survive there will always be something off with me. I hope if I ever have a stroke that I'm dead right away. I've nursed stroke patients and seeing them helpless whilst tears spill down their faces is just so heartbreaking. I used to give them hugs until one of the other nurses whined about it to the Don. Then I wasn't allowed to anymore and that hurt all of us. You're cantankerous, whining, brown-nosing old beach Irene and I can't wait until you become the patient instead of the nurse. Cow. Duck you Irene. That I'll die and my soul really could go somewhere and I really could be judged and whatnot. I'm not religious in any sense. But I'm not really atheist either. Whether or not something else isn't even a facet of my life. That being said, no one really knows. Shit could get real crazy after death. I fear that there is nothing at all after death, but that somehow we witness it forever. North Korea firing a nuke into South Korea or China. Pakistan nuking India, followed by everyone nuking everything. If North Korea nuked China, the whole world would immediately take care of them. China is literally the only friend they have. Nobody would fight on their side if they nuked them. Road debris coming through my car window. If you haven't seen that dashcam video, I encourage you not to. It's really upsetting. I'm never buying a dashcam. Have you seen the crazy shit that happens to people with dashcams? No thanks. The White Walkers getting a dragon. A solar flare taking down our entire infrastructure. Flare. I prefer flare. I imagining a kitschy button flying from the sun and taking out highways. Democratic societies become subjected to authoritarian rule as constitutions get rewritten to solidify power of the political party in charge. A sudden and dramatic cosmic event, collision, black hole, all sorts of things, that completely obliterates our planet. So fast we don't even comprehend it. Just one moment we are all here living our lives, squabbling about this and that, and the next, all of humanity, all that we have ever accomplished, all that we've ever been, all our legacies and history and growth and pain and joy and everything and everyone we've ever known and loved, all gone in an instant. Sitting down on the toilet and having a spider that was clinging onto the bottom of the seat close its hairy little legs around my ball sack. In the 19th century, the world experienced a solar event of unprecedented scale, called the Carrington Event. After the astronomer who first identified and studied it, it took the form of a massive solar flare, called a coronal mass ejection, CME. The CME bombarded the Earth with basically a galactic electromagnetic pulse, completely flattening the magnetosphere and immobilizing Earth's inherent electromagnetic shielding until it was over. Fortunately, at the time, Earth's electronic infrastructure was still in its infancy, although the event did cause telegraph wires to melt, and telegraph machines themselves to catch fire. Then, in 2012, a CME of equal or greater magnitude than the Carrington event was recorded. It passed directly through the Earth's orbit, while we were on the other side of the sun. Imagine if we had been in the splash zone of something like that. With how vital our electronic infrastructure has become in our daily lives, Reddit and the internet would immediately cease to exist as servers become fried and destroyed. Anyone connected to a life support machine would be dead unless the life support techniques can be done manually or with analog technology. Satellites for communication, weather prediction, scientific study, GPS systems, and anything else man-made in orbit around Earth would be damaged to the point of useless space junk. It would be an apocalyptic level event, and it almost happened. The sun completes a rotation on its axis about once every 3 weeks. So if that CME happened either 2 weeks before or 2 weeks after it took place, well, the world would be a suddenly and dramatically different place. You missed the obvious super virus or bacteria. Captain Trips realized the worst would be a super contagious viral agent that was contagious while asymptomatic for long periods, 14+ days. But once symptoms appeared, onset was rapid and resulted in debilitation or death. This is the best method to use to win at Plague Inc. When you go to take a piss in the middle of the night and swing open the shower curtain to check if a spoopy demon or serial killer is there, and there actually is one. Has anyone ever actually thought about that? What would anxiously ripping open the shower curtain do? Would you beat the said demon or killer with a plunger? Would they slip in the shower because you're too cheap to own a bath mat? Man, am I afraid of the bathroom at night. Yo, just keep your shower curtain open. That anyone can just walk up to any of your windows and stare in. Creepy as duck. Not waking up in the morning. Getting brain cancer. Having a stroke. Unexpected death in general. Not waking up in the morning wouldn't really be bad at all. One of the better ways to go out. As a kid, I was terrified that a black hole would show up out of nowhere and eat me, like just me on the street. That I'll get molested by my Uber driver. Genuine fear. Just tell him that it'd be an automatic 1 star. That'll keep him in line. I'd say the USA becoming a belligerent nation and or suffering a civil war. We're an enormous nation with lots of power. Lately, some of the foundational institutions of our democracy have been under attack, such as elections and the press. Facts have become less important in debates, and much of our population believes it has a duty to lash out violently against legislation they don't like. Beware. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.